In today's video, I'm going to address professional black men, their instinct to be pro-black, and their desire to keep it real. Now, it's natural to stay 100% black and keep it real, but there are times when keeping it real goes wrong. And there are times when keeping it real causes you to lose your job, your position, or promotion. And there are times when keeping it real can lead to divorce and cause you to lose your family because you don't have the money to take care of them properly. Now, there are two problems that I personally have with the keeping it real mentality. The first one is where young brothers pressure each other to not forget where you came from. Brother, the last thing you should do is forget where you came from, especially if you work hard to get out of there so that you'll never have to go back. The second problem that I have with keeping it real mentality is it prevents younger black men from receiving advice and guidance from older men. Therefore, older men can step in and warn younger men to protect them from situations when keeping it real is going to go wrong. So let's talk about it. The two primary examples of when keeping it real goes wrong in the pro athlete community are Cam Newton and Antonio Brown. Cam supposedly knows what to do to take care of his pro athlete body, but he apparently doesn't know how to take care of his appearance so that he can keep a job as a starting QB and have the money to take care of his family. Now, I get pissed off at sports reporters like Chris Broussard because he's older, so he knows that Cam Newton will have a problem getting with and being the starter of an NFL franchise because of his keeping it real mindset. Yet black male reporters are like, Chris, sit up on TV and talk about Cam's abilities or whether or not he can be a backup QB. However, they know damn well that no team owner is going to allow this guy to lead their franchise who is that flamboyant and wears his hair like the Joker in a deck of cards. At a time when they should be keeping it real, they refuse to discuss the elephant in the room. Now, the real truth that they refuse to say is Cam is never going to get another opportunity to be a starting QB unless he cuts his hair, take the COVID vaccine, and stop going around looking like Aunt Maxine. Antonio Brown appears to have learned the lesson of when keeping it real goes wrong, and now he has calmed way the hell down. See, AB was unquestionably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but he came under fire for coming to training camp in a hot air balloon and another time in a helicopter and then calling his GM a cracker and then getting fired from the Raiders. And I'm happy to see now that AB has stopped trying to keep it real and has gotten back to being one of the top receivers in the league. Men like myself and Kevin Samuels have been trying to teach young brothers for decades about the dangers of keeping it real in the business world or the workplace. O'Shea Duke Jackson interviewed a brother who said if black men want to move up in the corporate world, they have to get rid of their dreads, and he caught flack from the Keep It Real crowd. Listen to Kevin's reaction to what happened.
This is for black men, in particular, millennials and zennials. Last night, Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson did a show with Steve the Dean Williams that said, black men need to cut their hair if they want to work for white people. If you want to stay at the entry level, cool. You want to own your own business, cool. But if you want to move up, you need to focus on yourself. Go to somebody who's ahead of you, in particular, if there's a brother ahead of you, and ask him, look at my work and my appearance and tell me what you think. One thing that I saw in the phone calls and in the chat room, I was really disheartened by the men that called in on this show who wanted to keep arguing with Steve. I'm disheartened in the comment section. See, what I'm talking about is a lot of stuff that I never hear guys on YouTube talk about. None of the guys calling in last night had any idea this shit was going on. They're all entry-level dudes. So I'm gonna tell you something. I gave you my bona fides because I know what I'm talking about. And now I'm an image consultant and a corporate image consultant, meaning right now I work with companies who have a corporate brand. And that's what sits at the top of anything for a company. Black men, if you want to move up into upper management, you are going to have to cut your dreads. You're going to have to become clean cut and represent the brand. See, a lot of Black brothers think this is selling out. No, it's called buying in.
Most of you guys already know that society has been conditioned to fear black men, but most of you don't know why the dreadlock hairstyle begins with the word dread. You see, it was coined by British soldiers that had to face Mau Mau fighters, and the Mau Mau fighters mixed mud in their locks and spread mud all over their face and body, and they did that to blend in with the ground and forestry easily in order to attack the British soldiers by surprise. And this, of course, struck dread in their hearts, so the hairstyle became known as not as just locks, but dreadlocks. And to this very day, they get the feeling of dread whenever they see a black man with locks. Doing my first job as a junior leader in the Army, I had 19 people working for me. And it was my job to motivate and train my people to improve their job proficiency. And as an incentive to motivate them to improve their performance, I promised to help them get promoted ahead of their peers, which means receiving a higher rank and higher pay, right? However, that also meant that they had to conform to a standard of professional and personal performance and personal appearance that was at a level much higher than their peers. Now, in terms of personal appearance, they had to look like they could be the poster child for the Army every day, all day. And that included getting a military-style haircut. And even the sisters in the military have been catching flack from their supervisors about the way they wore their hair, at least until recently. So you know that the brothers with braids or dreads had to be having even more difficulty. Therefore, I had to push a lot of them to give up their keeping it real pro-black mindset so that they could be promoted and move up in rank and receive higher pay. Now, I was in the intelligence field in the Army, okay? But I actually worked for the National Security Agency. In that field, only about 15% of the workforce were actually minorities. So most people don't realize that the U.S. Army is a microcosm of America. Therefore, blacks and other minorities in uniform have to experience the same racism and stereotypes as everyone else in America. So in the process of preparing my people for early promotions throughout their entire careers, I would bring in young people under my supervision and give them the talk. And for people who don't know, the talk is, in civilian terms, is what black parents have to tell their children to do when confronted by police. But the talk in military terms is designed to help young black people understand that due to the racist attitudes of many of the military leaders, they would not be promoted ahead of or even with their white peers unless they did certain things to overcome those attitudes and stereotypes. Now, one time I brought in 2 young brothers and gave them the talk, and one of them appeared to halfway listen, and the other one, who was much darker skinned than his friend, got angry and said that he has a lot of white friends and other nonsense, right? And as a military leader, you have the power to command the person to go on receive so that you can transmit. So I had to make him shut the fuck up.
Silence! I kill you!
And told both of them if they didn't listen to me, they were going to be treated like Miss Seeley and Nettie. I said that one of you will be abused if you stay with Mr. and the other one of you will be run off and pressured to leave the Army. Then I kicked them out of my office. Now here's an incident where keeping it real went wrong with me personally, okay? While I was in the military, I also worked in the financial services industry where I made $130,000 a year working part-time evening and weekends. Now, I made so much money that I decided to buy a brand new BMW with cash. And I went to a dealer wearing a sweatshirt and jeans so I could bless the salesperson who didn't ignore me because of the way that I was dressed. Now, when I arrived, there were 3 white male salesmen standing outside talking, and I was looking at the cars waiting for one of them to come over to talk to me, right? However, after a few minutes, they all went back inside. So I left, and as I was going down the street, I saw a car in the Mitsubishi dealership lot called the Starion. And this joint was straight up muscle, all right? And it was one of the first turbo intercooled cars on the market. And this little sales lady saw me looking at it, and she came over to talk to me. And when I asked her how much it would be if I paid cash, her eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. But the moral to the story, gents, is most people are going to interact with you based on your appearance. If you are dumpy or a little pudgy, you will be less likely to get a high value woman unless you have money. Now, if you are a cat who insists on keeping your pro-black hairdo, most companies are not going to hire or promote you if you look like a Mau Mau or Zulu. Many of the brothers who already work there will tell you if you want to move up here, you're going to have to cut your hair. Now listen, okay? I can understand your desire to keep it real. Your instinct would be to say, they have to just take me as I am. But isn't that the same attitude that some black women have that most of you cats complain about? Are you such a dude chick that your hairdo is more important to you than what you have the money to do for your family? Why should your wife and children have to dread not having the things that they need because you love your dreads more than you love making enough money to feed your family? And again, I totally understand where you're coming from because I was born a baby black militant. See, I didn't come out of my mother's womb head first. I came out fist first. So I have been pro-black since way back, all right? However, I also understand that when it comes to business, being pro-black doesn't get you a lot of green. Your white employers are not going to pay you a lot of money so that you can go out and finance your black militancy.
Come on.
All right? You have to do what is necessary to get enough money to provide for your family comfortably and save enough money to start your own company. Then you can dress, speak, and wear your hair any way you want to. But you're going to quickly find out that looking like a Zulu is going to impact your business revenue too. All right? Well, that's all that I have for now. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share this video with your family and friends, and I'll be back with something new that nobody told you. Until then, remember that God loves you, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'll see you next time on Maximizing Fatherhood.